Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I am fantastic. Great afternoon to talk sports.
Well, how was your week?
It was good. Very, very busy. Very busy. Worked my job all week, and in the meantime, trying to catch up on what's going on in the sporting world, and just it was a good week though.
Ask me what I did this week.
What did you do this week?
Absolutely nothing but watch sports. Probably a lot of MLB Network.
Thank goodness for snow, right?
Thank goodness. I had all week off, and my goodness, what a week to have off, though. It was quite a week for baseball, though, let me tell you.
Well, I worked all week, and we'll probably work a good chance of working tomorrow. And I think you are going to be going to baseball practice, aren't you?
Yes, I got baseball practice tomorrow afternoon, so excited for that. Can't wait for that. That's always a good time. Ordered myself a new baseball glove last night on academy.com, so I was bored there at my apartment and got on there and decided that I was going to do some shopping, and I found a baseball glove similar to the one I had in high school, and so I decided I was going to go ahead and order it.
Well, sometimes we have to treat ourselves to something new, nothing wrong with that.
Well, since I'm coaching 2 baseball teams this year, assisting 2 baseball teams, so I figured having a good glove would probably be necessary.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, gloves are like guitars. You can never have too many, right?
Well, I can probably count on about 6 or 7 people's hands how many guitars we have in this room here.
Well, that's a story for another day.
Well, spring training started this week.
Yes, it sure did. The baseball world is kicked back in gear and ready to go. Although in the Midwest here, it sure hasn't felt like baseball weather, but thank goodness for Florida and Arizona. It probably did feel like baseball weather there.
It all started off in the Cactus League out in Arizona on Thursday, and believe it or not, the Dodgers lost their first game. Of course, it's the first day of spring training. I don't care who wins or who loses the first 3 weeks of spring training. And even through the amount of spring training, I don't really care about the record because it's not really about wins or losses during this time of the year. It's more about getting everybody's body ready to go for 162-plus season.
It's also about who you're going to keep, who you're going to get out of there. That's the way with football. It's more about trying to figure out who you're going to cut, and how you can get your roster down.
Right. Like I said, I watched Thursday's game. It was the Dodgers and Cubs at Camelback Ranch in Arizona, and one of the Japanese stars for the Dodgers pitched an inning and a third, or 2 and a third innings, and looked pretty good started out. But let me tell you, some of these young kids from the I can actually say young kids now when I talk about baseball prospects, because they're all younger than me.
Well, sure.
And when I used to say that when I was in high school, it was crazy because they were all still older than me. But now I look at them. Shoot, the Astros just signed somebody that was born in 2008. To me, that is just wild.
Well, that is. Well, you just wait as it continues on another 2, 4, 5, 6, 10 years. You'll see it big time.
Oh, 100%. But what I was getting to is a lot of these kids that I was seeing in that game on Thursday really looked good, and I'm really interested to see how that team is going to look in the future. I'm not going to count them out this year because I think that the NL Central is wide open.
Right.
Because the Brewers have, I think, took a step back since they traded their star closer. They're not as strong as they were last year. Your Cardinals are definitely not as strong as they have been. They're a disgrace to the city.
It's a sad story. That was an organization that was very elite organization for many, many years and respected around the world. And now they are an embarrassment right now.
Yeah. And when it comes to the Pittsburgh Pirates, they've only got that one good pitcher in Paul Skeens. Come from Louisiana State. He'll be pretty good. He'll be pretty good his second or third season once again. And then the Cincinnati Reds, who have really done really well for themselves. They brought your buddy in to manage, and I wouldn't be so sure that they don't do good in the Central.
Francona?
Yeah, they brought your buddy Francona in.
I think that was a very good choice. They'll be, I'm not saying this year, but
But let me tell you this. Everywhere Francona has been, he has turned that team around.
Absolutely.
He's turned every team around. Like, look at Cleveland back in 2016.
It was always like
he did with them.
Cleveland who? Just always nobody.
Right.
They were just kind of like the Pirates. They were there. They existed. They won, They would never. Of course, I've always heard that it's almost as hard to lose 100 games as it is to win 100 games.
Right.
But they was always just, you never heard much about them. But look what he did with them. He put them, he put them in there. He turned them into a competitive team.
Oh, for sure. And I definitely think that they're not going to be a sub 500 team, but I also don't think they're going to be a 100-win team this year. But I definitely could see them in a wild card position, especially since they have those 3 wild card spots now. That Central is wide open still. Of course, you're going to have your top teams like the Dodgers and probably either the Phillies or the Mets. But other than that, it's wide open because the Padres didn't get any better. The Diamondbacks, they have gotten better. That their pitching got a lot better, but
I'd like to see the Diamondbacks do something
for sure. But they still have a young group, and I don't know I think they'll definitely be a wild card before spring training's over, and we kind of see how things shape out. I'll kind of throw my predictions for you of what I think each division will be, but that's kind of my news when it comes to the spring training in the first couple of games this week. I think everybody's now had a first game because we're recording this here on Saturday afternoon, launch on Monday, but now that everybody's has a game that they've played.
Do you feel like Francona has got a stronger roster in Cincinnati than he did in Cleveland?
It depends on, when it comes to
some to be determined yet.
When it comes to core hitting, I think he has a better lineup here in Cincinnati. But when it comes to core pitching, bullpen, rotation, I think he had it better off in Cleveland. And, well, we all know how he did with the Red Sox. I think he had both better off was with the Red Sox.
Mm-hmm. He's probably right now in a weaker division, though, ain't he?
Yes, for sure.
So he'll be able to compete more like teams.
Because when he took over, he had the 1 year off in 2011 or 2012, and then took over. He was coming up with he was battling against a tough Detroit team. That Detroit team was still very good at that time before they totally dismantled.
Exactly.
So it was very.
Verlander would have still been there.
Yeah, Verlander was there. Verlander, Max Scherzer.
So they were being pretty competitive every year.
Oh, absolutely. That was a tough organization to beat and a tough division to win, just because you had that. And then even about a year later, you had the rise of Kansas City in 2014 and 15, who was right there. And then that next year, after Kansas City dismantled, Cleveland kind of rose to power.
What year did Jim take them to the Super Bowl or to the World Series? Oh my gosh, I can't think of his last name.
Oh, Jim Leland.
Leland. Was that around?
Which time? The year that they played the Cardinals. The year they played the Giants.
Was he there both times?
Yes.
He lost to the Cardinals. Did they beat the Giants?
No.
They lost to the Giants too.
The Giants.
Which one was first?
The Cardinals in 2006 and the Giants in 2010.
Was Verlander there for both of those?
Yes.
Okay.
Verlander was a rookie in '05, I believe.
Okay. So, I mean, now Jim Leland did a wonderful job with them, I thought. I mean, he didn't walk away as a winner, but he took the team 2 times to the World Series. That's pretty big.
My favorite Jim Leland moment was, I wasn't around for this or anything, but looking at videos of him and everything was watching him manage and him smoking a cigarette in the dugout. MLB would ostracize him for that now.
I wonder how long ago that was.
Oh, I'm sure that was probably back in the 70s or 80s.
He and Tony were pretty close friends.
Right.
And Jim passed away, right?
No.
He didn't?
No, he's still alive.
Actually, be corrected then.
He actually, in 2017, he actually managed the United States BBC team.
I remember that. Yes, I sure remember that.
Well, we did get some interesting breaking news this week regarding MLB and ESPN. They will no longer be national TV partners after this season. They mutually agreed to opt out of the final 3 years of the deal, per letter to The Athletic.
How's that going to end up?
So basically, from what I read about this and kind of gathered all my information about this, is basically that they're cutting ties after this year. That means no more Sunday night baseball, because it was a natural thing. Every Sunday night, ESPN had MLB on 6 or 7 o'clock on Sunday nights. That was the thing, and that's probably going to be no more. Somebody else will get the contract, whether it be Apple TV, TBS, somebody big.
Who pulled the plug on that? Was that more MLB?
It said it was mutually agreed upon, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. This is just purely speculation, just because from what I've seen and watched. I think it was purely ESPN.
Really?
Because they're all about NBA. They're all about LeBron and all that. When it comes to talking about MLB, all they want to talk about is the Dodgers and the Yankees. They don't give a crap about anything else.
Where do you see this thing ending up at?
What do you mean?
With the contract. Who do you see ending up with the contract?
Like I said, it's still uncertain. Maybe like Apple TV or something like that. But MLB's got to do something, because they've lost a lot of revenue when it comes to TV rights over the last couple of years.
Why is that?
Well, because, unlike NFL and NBA is like this, but they have their own right. Every team has their own individual TV rights.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And a lot of these are going bankrupt. A lot of them has went bankrupt over the last several years, and it's been causing MLB to purchase those. And what's really been a problem is the blackout restrictions. You've kind of heard me talk a little bit about this. If you live in a certain area, like for example, MLB.TV, you can't watch your home team through MLB.TV, which is complete crap. You pay so much a month, you should be able to.
Why don't they look at doing something like NFL did and go, revenue sharing on the entire contract? Say Fox gets the contract and airs all the games. Obviously, they're not going to be able to air all the games, but, they could. I don't know for sure how that would really go. There's so many games.
I don't see that, because if you think, I'm not good at math, but what's 162 times 30?
Oh, yeah, talking
that's
astronomical amount.
A lot.
That's why ESPN made sense.
Yes. And that's why you had so many networks that were powered in with that. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else that maybe even is never really much in baseball that would come out and get it. But right now, I would think it would either be Apple TV or MLB Network.
Right. What about happened to the Fox Midwest and all that? What happened to those networks?
So they were bought out.
So Fox doesn't own them anymore.
No, they were bought out by the Sinclair Group that turned to Bally Sports, and Bally Sports went bankrupt.
Really? After they bought them?
Yes. And all of Bally Sports, their programs have been changing network names and all kinds of different things. And a lot of teams, for example, the Cubs, of course the Yankees have already had their similar own. The Astros, and I think there's one or two more, but they actually own their own local networks.
I think to me the perfect solution for this, where basically somebody that could handle, showing all the games, to me the perfect solution that would be Netflix. They could have every game, every day, from every city, all 162 games times 30 teams could be on Netflix every day.
Well, that's kind of like
and then they could have revenue sharing.
The MLB.TV stuff that I purchased, which is $30 a month. Great investment if you live in an area where it's not blacked out. I think that's the biggest thing, is ending blackouts. If you end blackouts and focus on something that you can do in an area that is going to be widely spread to where you can have all of your teams to be played and be shown on that, it would be perfectly fine, because that's perfect. In matter of fact, there's also a couple of teams, I think, like the Guardians, are actually offering through MLB.TV to actually purchase your own subscription to, like, they're pulling the network completely off the TV, and it's just strictly going on there. And I know MLB had bought a couple of networks from, like, Arizona, because when they went bankrupt in the middle of the season, it was either not have any network games or MLB to buy it.
It seems to me like with as many games as there is for baseball, that a streaming network would be the best, because you could air every game. And I don't do the blackouts, none of that stuff, just air every game. And to me, that's a situation that they could handle.
Oh, for sure. Because, with the ESPN and MLB network partnership, that was mainly for, like, national broadcast things. What we're talking about is mainly, like, local markets.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the national broadcast stuff, I could see Netflix being a buyer into that, because since they are kind of trying to go into that live TV realm. Another one that has kind of brought back MLB to them after many years where they were kind of distant is NBC. They've been on Peacock over the last several years, doing Sunday morning games. So those are two, along with Apple TV Plus that they do Friday night telecasts. Other than that, maybe Fox would pick up that, but I feel like MLB's probably going to want somebody completely other than Fox, just because they got a huge one with Fox already. And I don't know if Fox wants to pick up anymore.
Well, if somebody could pick up enough of the games to where you could have the Sunday night game, which is a big deal, keep that on a national
right
level, and
that's a huge deal, because, like, for me, that was, especially, growing up, that was one of my favorite things, especially when Joe Morgan was calling it.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome for me.
But I think the long term, all these sports are going to be streamed. They're going to be a streaming network that takes it over.
Oh, for sure. They'll all be that way.
And it would surprise me to see another streaming network emerge.
Yeah.
Isn't Peacock kind of doing that too?
Well, that's what Peacock is.
Is a streaming network. Okay.
Well, see, because that's what NBC is. NBC took their network and made Peacock.
Okay, right.
So
the WWE stuff is on Netflix. It's not on Peacock anymore.
Now they're
or is their library on Peacock?
Their library is still on Peacock, and their pay-per-views are still on Peacock. They haven't got away from Peacock just all the way.
Right.
In United States, just Monday Night Raw is on Netflix. Outside of United States, everything is on Netflix.
Okay, so Raw's the only thing. Okay, where's the rest of the world see Raw?
It's on Netflix.
Okay, but it's on Netflix for everybody then on Monday night.
Yes.
Okay, I thought you said just the United States was on Netflix.
That's the only thing that's on the Netflix for United States.
Oh, okay.
Is Raw.
Okay. Gotcha.
Everything else is on Netflix
okay, I
for
understand that.
outside of the United States. Like if you live in Canada, you want to watch anything on WWE, you go to Netflix.
Right. I got you. I'm with you now. Well, I think that'll just get bigger in time.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
The future of all this is streaming. There's no question.
Oh, 100%. It's all going to be there eventually. You know, like CBS, they did that. They have Paramount, the Paramount Plus, they have that. So, I mean, all of these networks that have been major networks through the years, that even the networks that the local channels that you've kind of grown up with has kind of went that streaming route. Pretty much all of Fox's sitcoms and local stuff is pretty much like all on Hulu. They've partnered with Hulu.
Right.
So like there's everything on there.
Well, let's move on. Get back to my agenda here.
Do you think George Steinbrenner is rolling around in his grave right now?
Yeah, because they've... how much has that been... They've kind of liberalized it a little bit, you might say, haven't they?
Well, I listened to Hal Steinbrenner talk about this. In case you don't know what we're talking about, the Yankees amended their well-groomed policy. Uniform players and staff may have well-groomed beards. This also means that their hair must be above the shirt collar, just like it was before. They are just amending their beard policy. What Hal said is he said the times have changed from when his father done this back in the 1970s, and that he said, look at society. He goes, look at our vice president. He's got a beard now. Look at our members of Congress. Most of them have beards. He goes, we're in times of changement, and he goes, now that we don't want to be a team that loses out on a player because he wants to have a beard, but he don't want to come here because he can't have a beard.
Right. And I don't disagree with that.
No.
I mean, on the other side, going back with the old man, I mean, I could see kind of what he did back in the day. I mean, if you're going to pay that kind of money, I mean, I don't think it's unfair to ask somebody to keep herself groomed and all that. I would wear my hair however they wanted me to wear it for that kind of money.
Well, coming from a military background, he really pushed that.
Right.
Especially after he bought the team and he was watching it and he couldn't see anybody's jersey numbers and names or anything. And he goes, this is ridiculous. And, of course, Yankees don't have jersey names, but jersey numbers. And so then that's when they introduced
that actually didn't come with a lot of resistance, did it, through the years?
Lou Piniella was one of the biggest ones that was the biggest one that really did not like it. He said one time, this is funny, that Jesus Christ had long hair and a beard. Why can't we? He said he looked over at a pond that was kind of down the way. This is at spring training down in Florida. And he goes, if you can walk across there, then you can have long hair and a beard.
Who said that to him, the old man?
The old man.
Well, I do agree with them, though. The times have changed. I don't see nothing wrong with it a bit. If they want to have a short, well-kept beard, I think it's fine. And I agree times have changed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but Brian Cashman, the GM, had said that they're not trying to look like Duck Dynasty. So they are going to be parameters about that. I would say my beard would probably be too long or just maybe too much, but yours would probably be about just right. But I think it's definitely interesting. I'm kind of glad to see them amend this because there's a lot of players that you're going to see with beards again, like Garrett Cole. That's the first thing you're going to see him do because he always had a beard before going to New York.
Right.
Who's another one that I was thinking about? Devin Williams, the new closer. He'll grow his beard out. Of course, what sucks about that is he had a rockin' beard about 10 days ago. He shaved it. And then they come out with this, but it'll be back in about a month.
Back. Well, JV always kind of, did he have a beard or just not clean shaven all the time?
He had a little bit more than a 5 o'clock shadow most of the time.
Right. But those guys sometimes, shaving every day is the last thing on their mind. They're trying to stay focused on the game. And
well, actually, quick story here. Remember Lance Lynn, don't you?
Yep, sure did.
So Lance Lynn actually played half a season in New York. And he said that was his worst half a season in baseball because he said there was nothing worse than having to get up and shave every day.
Yeah. Well, that was interesting during the times when they were doing that. I see nothing wrong with it, but I do agree with the times changing now,
I have no issues with that. Well, this is my favorite time of the year is coming up next spring, next March, is the WBC's World Baseball Classic, and the qualifiers are going on right now.
When does it actually start?
It'll actually start next March.
A year.
Yes.
A year from March, but the qualifiers are
Qualifiers are going on right now. The first round of qualifiers are actually going on in Taiwan. There are 4 teams out there, and then there's another group that'll start here in Tucson, Arizona, towards the end of March.
You got any names for us of any MLB guys retired MLB guys or anything that's going to be there, or that you think will be that
Not much in the qualifiers right now. I haven't seen a whole lot of actual MLB guys. I saw a couple of guys that have been former prospects and current prospects that have kind of signed as international.
How many retired guys? Somebody just retired, in the last year or two.
No big names.
Because remember there for a while that you seen like Jason Marquis. He pretty much gave up with MLB, and kind of number of things. And I was a Jason Marquis fan, I really was. But he kind of aged out, you might say, with other things. But then he came back and played that 1 year and did pretty good, really. He wasn't bad. And, Jason's a guy that probably doesn't get enough attention because he did a few good things. And for a pitcher, Jason was very, very heavy on the bat. He didn't, I've seen him, they've pinch hit him before. I mean, he was that good.
Right. I'm trying to find here the list. I had the list of the teams that are currently playing.
I thought maybe Yachty might want to come back and try that.
Well, he actually managed the last time for Puerto Rico. See, the WBC qualifiers are just the teams who are having to qualify, and I'll actually explain this here in a second once I get this pulled up, so I can remember exactly what the teams are in there for this year. Let me see here. It's 2026 baseball qualifiers here. So in the Pool A, which is going on they call it Chinese Taipei, which is in Taipei, Taiwan, which is Taipei is the state in Taiwan. So that one is the Chinese Taipei, which is Taiwan, Nicaragua, Spain, and South Africa. So these teams, along with Colombia, Germany, China, and Brazil, all have to qualify, and the top 2 teams from each of these polls will qualify for the WBC next year.
Okay.
So if you lost out in the first round last year, you have to requalify.
Okay.
So that's how that's working.
I mean, how many players does this involve? I mean, a lot, ain't it?
Lots. Right now, currently, this is, we're here on a Saturday afternoon. But right now, Nicaragua is 2-0. Spain is 1-1. Chinese Taipei is 1-1. And South Africa is 0-2.
And this is the qualifier.
And these are the qualifiers for Pool
What all is
A.
involved in the qualifiers?
It's basically a round-robin tournament. Everybody will play everybody once, and then whoever has the best record automatically qualifies, and then on Tuesday they will have a second and third place game, and whoever wins that is the second qualifier of that pool.
So you're going to get a decent amount of baseball out of this, the qualifiers.
Yes, we'll have another game tonight, which will be at
We all see that.
Which will be noon there, and then a night game tomorrow, which will be it's about 6 a.m. there. You watch it on YouTube, the WBC World Baseball Classic YouTube channel.
So if you missed tonight's game, you can always go back and watch it too if you wanted to.
Oh, absolutely.
Very good.
Let me tell you, though, it has been some great baseball games, and I love international baseball games. And I tell you what, that is definitely on my bucket list, is to go to Asia and watch some baseball, because it's loud. They're all playing some kind of instrument, it seems like. That atmosphere is amazing.
Well, everybody always thinks about South America, that region for baseball, but Asia offers a lot, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, for the last two night games for the Chinese Taipei games, which is Taiwan, there's been 35,000 people there.
Wow. Well, this thing turns some revenue too, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. There's quite a bit of revenue that happens all over the world with this.
Well, the actual BBC next year when it starts, that'll be on network television somewhere, won't it? It won't just be on YouTube, will it?
No, it'll be everywhere. Fox will hold it. MLB Network will hold it, I think. And I think that'll be the main two.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's some big television money involved in that.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so next thing on the list is talking about the Astros and Cardinals. Got a notification on my drive back home today that the Cardinals and Astros are rekindling their talks for All-Star and Gold Glover third baseman Nolan Arenado. What's your reaction to that?
Wow. So this is kind of surfaced today?
This kind of surfaced today.
Does that surprise you?
A little bit.
So what do you see happening? Where do you think this will end up going? What's the narrative on this? Where's it going to be? Where's it going to go?
As an Astros fan, I hope it doesn't happen.
Right.
As a Cardinal fan, I hope it happens.
Right.
Because I can see both sides of this. Just because I'm a baseball fan, I can play devil's advocate for both sides. But talking like for the Astros side of things, we're jam-packed already when it comes to infield. We need outfielders. Mm-hmm. He can't play outfield. We were already moving Altuve to left field.
Really?
We don't need anybody else in the infield. We just signed another infielder this week to a minor league contract. So, I mean...
What kind of money is he going to bring?
So, right now he's got like 2 years, maybe 3 years left on his deal. And they're going to have to pay a chunk of it, the Cardinals, but he's making like $32 million a year.
Oh, my gosh.
I would not want that. And, I mean, he's declining, okay? And you're not gonna give up any top prospects. Right. So, I mean... And I know who they're going to want. They're going to want some outfielders, and we need all the outfielders we can get. So, but as a Cardinal fan, I'm all for it because it gets you out of that contract, and it gets you some younger guys in there.
Right.
But as an Astros fan, I hope it doesn't happen.
I can't believe they ever committed to that much money on him. That's a lot of money.
Well, when they made the trade, they were set up to win, and he was an all-star caliber and even an MVP type player. Of course, I mean this was right after COVID happened. This was right after the COVID season, and
so he's been there for a while.
Yeah, I think he got there in either 21 or 22, and so now
3 or 4 seasons with him.
Yeah, so now that team is completely just died.
Right.
So
sad too what that organization, how it was. They're really, I mean, they were one time, it was very profound. They was a very elite, respected organization around the world. And they have really, they're losing a lot. I mean, they really has. It's sad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I can't believe DeWitt, is that his name?
Yeah.
I can't believe that, I think most people would agree on me. I can't believe that Mazalok is still there.
Well, funny story about that is, when the Cardinals started declining a couple of years ago, the Bush family actually come out and said that they would want to buy the Cardinals back.
You think they still would?
I think they would.
I wish DeWitt would sell him.
I mean, they've put too much faith into a general manager, or I wouldn't even. He's now his official title is president of baseball operations.
Right.
But he needs to go. Like I said last week, that's where they went wrong. Is they put way too much faith into him over the last several years.
Well,
it's time for.
I told you this, my opinion, many times, that in the very beginning he impressed them because he had a lot of success. But I still say that success was hinged on Tony La Russa. Tony La Russa was, he was a guru, and he was good. He was good at scout, picking out players, and I think that's what Mozeliak leaned on, and I would have too. He brought him a lot of success, but it's like, what have you done for me lately? But I don't know. It disappoints me to see where they went. But there's in the organization, I've told you this before. I think was a disappointment when Tony left, and I have nothing against Matheny, but you had a Francona that was available. Just left Boston. He was available and he was being marketed, and I can't believe that we didn't bring him in. That would have been huge. That was still a very sound team, very sound at the time. And
right.
If you'd have brought Francona in there, I think there would have definitely been another World Series.
Yes, I 100%. I tell you who the Cardinals should have really looked at bringing in. And I have nothing against Cham or Chasm Bloom, who is eventually going to replace Mozeliak, but Kim Ning, who was a general manager down in Miami for 3 years before they ended up firing her because basically they didn't like she was running her team. But she comes from a sports background. She played softball, and she worked as an assistant of baseball operations from 1990 to 1996 in Chicago, and then worked under the Yankees organization as an assistant general manager from 98 to 01 through the three-peat, and then worked with the Dodgers from 02 to 2011. And then they hired her as the GM in 2021, and she was there through 2023, and she broke that drought she built a team with basically no money.
Right.
She made. I mean, they were very limited moves, but she made moves to build a team, and I still think that she done a phenomenal job. And that somebody like that who has got a fresh set of eyes, that's who somebody like the Cardinals need to bring in.
Well, we need somebody. They need to bring in somebody that's not within now.
Right.
We don't need to fall on the same ideas and the same thoughts. We need to bring in somebody else new. It needs to be some new fresh folks come in there and, restart this thing, because what they've been doing, how many year drought are they in from playoffs?
Well, see, they made it in 2022, but they got swept in the wild card series by
That's the last time, ain't it?
Yes, by the Phillies.
And it don't look promising for this season, does it?
No.
Well, I don't know. You think it's hurt them with all the money they got in Arenado, probably?
Oh, 100%. It's really been difficult. Cham Bloom he come from the Boston Red Sox. They let him go in 23. He come in here in 24 for the Cardinals here. He's a younger guy. He is only 41, and he is supposed to be the successor to John Mozeliak. But if you're learning anything from John Mozeliak, I have no faith in you.
No, I think it needs to be just,
Because here's the thing. John Mozeliak may be a great guy. I have nothing against John Mozeliak, the person. But a lot like Bill O'Brien as the GM, I have no respect for John Mozeliak, the GM. Because what has John Mozeliak done as GM of the St. Louis Cardinals?
What's he done for the Cardinals since Tony La Russa's left?
Not really anything.
Exactly. So I think it's time to bring somebody else in, not somebody that they've groomed within, bring in somebody else, from the outside in.
So maybe this Bloom guy from the Red Sox, maybe he will be the spark that does something for them.
Yeah, I keep thinking that at some point that Yadier Molina will get involved with that organization.
I mean, if they know what's good for them, I think that they should. But I don't know. We'll see.
I know one thing; it would bring a lot of attention to the Cardinals.
Oh, I think it would.
So, I don't know what they're going to do. I wish them the best. I really, it's not like what I've ever used to the Cardinals being. I think in time they'll turn it back around, but it sure has been. It's been kind of sad to see them drop this bad, to this low.
For sure. But hey, we have some football news here, so we're kind of getting to your cup of tea here.
That's right.
So the Jaguars had hired Rams James Gladstone as their general manager. I saw that as a highlight on Fox Sports this week. So, you have any thoughts on that?
I think it was a good hire. I think it's definitely a good hire. Look at the success the Rams have had in the last several years. I mean, they've been a playoff team, every year. Sometimes they've had their slow starts.
Yeah.
But they've came back, and become very, I
think they missed the playoffs a year or two ago, didn't they?
Maybe they did.
But I would say this. They have been a contender.
The second half of this past season, the Rams were hard to beat. And in fact, they were the ones from the NFC that I was thinking it would go to the Super Bowl. I really did.
No, you didn't.
I did too. I did.
First round of the playoffs, you laughed at me when I said that. I said you watch out for the Rams because I said you watch.
I think you got it wrong.
They have got a lot to play for because of the fires.
I told you that.
No, I said you watch them because they got a lot to play for because of the fires.
That's true.
Because they were playing for that city. They were playing. In fact, they were playing for the whole Southern California.
See where'd they go? Detroit, wasn't it? Or was it Philly?
Well, they beat Minnesota down in Arizona when they had to transplant and play that game there, and then they went to Detroit.
And Minnesota had a better record than them because they were a walk-off.
Right, and then they beat Detroit, and then after they went to Detroit, then they went to Philadelphia, and then ended up losing to Philadelphia.
Philadelphia was a good team this year.
Philadelphia had a heck of a defense, let me tell you.
Yes, and I think Philadelphia, I don't see any reason why they won't be right in the middle of the mix next year.
Yeah, I'd like to take a deep dive into that team a little more.
I feel sorry,
but
I feel sorry for their division because they got to play them twice,
right?
And it's going to be hard,
But I tell you what, a team that did stay with the Eagles pretty well. I want to say the Nationals, but it's not the Redskins either. The Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, that team really impressed me.
Yes, that's a good football team, and I think that I definitely don't think we've heard the last of them. I think that they'll be back next year, maybe even better. But there was a while there that I wondered if they were on a run that maybe you see this sometime that just nobody could beat them. But we certainly found out that wasn't right when it come to Philadelphia. But there was a while there I thought, them guys are hard to beat. I don't know who can beat them right now. They believed in themselves and they done a spectacular job. But man,
I think that Nick Sirianni is one heck of a coach.
Yes, that's probably the best team Philadelphia has ever had.
Yes. You think better than the Doug Peterson team the year they beat Tom Brady and the Patriots?
I do. I think the defense is better. Now, I don't know about the offense exactly for sure.
Well, the offense was led that year by a bunch of no-names.
Right.
I mean, of course, you did have Nick Foles there, but Nick Foles was 7 years past his prime. And
no, he wasn't that old. No, he wasn't that old.
Nick Foles in 2018, he'd already been there once, had a career in Philadelphia, went to St. Louis a year, and then come back.
Well, that's true.
He didn't even start the season for him. Carson Wentz started the first 13 games, went out for him, and then come back in.
I can tell you what's real right now, or this past season, what was really real was Philadelphia's defense.
Absolutely.
That's probably the single best defense that I have saw since the Ravens of 2000, somewhere in there, when Brian Bellick was their head coach and you had Ray Lewis and Suggs and all that bunch on there. that was a single season best defense I ever saw, and it was just unbelievable. The two defenses that stands out in my mind is '85 Bears, that whatever it was, 2000 or 2001 Ravens, and then to be honest with this defense this year also has registered in that category.
The defense that sticks out to me behind those, another one that I kind of give a honorable mention to, is the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, that was a good defense.
The last year of Peyton Manning, the year that they won the Super Bowl 50.
That was a good one.
That was because without that defense, they don't go to the Super Bowl and they don't win the Super Bowl.
I mean, we've seen, the Steelers and the Patriots both have real good defenses through the years.
I don't think the Patriots Patriots had some good teams over the last 25 years, but I have not seen as good of a defense as we've seen from Philadelphia this year.
No, there's not. You don't see that too often. That's the thing. But like I said, that to me that ranks up there with the Ravens of 2000 or whatever year that was, and the '85 Bears.
Right.
They weren't even blitzing in the Super Bowl. They weren't even blitzing.
Here's the thing, though.
Four guys.
You didn't have to blitz. Is because here's the thing.
Well, four guys was keeping him down.
Mahomes.
He couldn't stay vertical with those four guys.
No, Mahomes. All you had to do was just put pressure on him because it was obvious throughout the year. And if anybody watched any tape on him and had any knowledge on football, knows that if you put pressure on Mahomes, he's not that good of a quarterback.
Especially when you put that kind of pressure.
Right.
And those are four big guys.
Because I look back at the game that the Houston Texans played him at Christmas. In the first part of the game, they really pressured him, and when they pressured him, things did not look good for Mahomes. But we also had a breakdown and couldn't pressure him very much, but that's a story for a different day and fun stuff. But
hey, while we're talking about the Rams, this is probably as good a time as any. There's a lot of talk going on the internet about Matthew Stafford. That is he going to be Ram next year, or where he's going to be? I think that he won't be a Ram next year, because I think they've got to come up with if they keep him about $50 million, they're going to have to pay him. And I just don't think
if he's not a Ram, I know exactly where he's going.
Where do you think he's going?
He's got a one-way ticket to New York.
New York?
I think he'll be a Jet
or a Steeler.
I still think it's almost written in pretty much everything but stone for Mr. Rogers to be a Steeler.
I'm not sure that Stafford will go to New York. He might retire before he does. I don't think he will. I don't there. And I'll be honest with him, I don't blame him.
You don't think he wants to try to win another one?
Oh, I think he wants to win another one, but go to the New York Jets?
If you have a good quarterback, I think you could find a way to win there.
Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback.
Okay, but who's in better shape? A 75-year-old Rodgers or a 40-year-old Matthew Stafford?
Well, that's true, but I mean, Stafford's not that much younger than him. 4 or 5 years? I know that's a lot in sports world.
That's a lot in sports.
I don't know. I think Stafford's about 37, and what's Rodgers 40. So there's quite a bit of difference.
Well, have you seen the bed he sleeps on? Have you seen that commercial? He sleeps on a nice bed.
That's true.
So he probably gets a lot better sleep. They're not telling where Rodgers sleeps.
That's true. No, I don't know where he's going to go. Well, that second guy that the Patriots drafted last year, what is his name? Joe something or another. He's probably as good a quarterback as Drake May, just about. And a lot of the talk is that the Rams will probably trade a draft pick of some kind to the Patriots for him.
Oh, really?
That's what a lot of the talk is going on. And he's the kid that stood there during the draft and threw a football 80 yards. He's got the fastest. Look his name up real fast. That's the fastest he threw a football, the fastest of anybody. I think it's maybe tied the fast 62-mile-an-hour football. This kid's he's a gunslinger. He's got an arm on him. Something Junior, Joe, or the third, or
Joe Milton the third.
Yes, he threw a football 80 yards. And like I said, they were clocking him with a radar gun. He threw 162 mile an hour, a football. So, if he has accuracy and makes good decisions.
It says here, this is Sports Illustrated, there could be interest around the league in Milton because of the overall weakness of this year's quarterback draft class.
Yes, and it's weak.
The rookie showed promise in Week 18 against the Bills' backup with a 72.4 quarterback rating. If New England can turn these 3 more years of a 6th-round pick into 4 more years of a 3rd or 4th-round pick, it's usually going to be a win for a roster, especially when the only playing time Milton had was during the regular season was a finale against backups because the Patriots already had their quarterback of the future in Drake May.
And this guy may be as good as May. May's got good potential.
Well,
right
it's always good if you got a backup like that where you could trade. And
right.
I mean, shoot, even if I'll be honest with you, even if they didn't, of course, if they just wanted the individual picks, I would take one single second round pick.
I was going to say I could see
do a 1-for-1 instead of just like say we'll take 2 third rounds or 4 fourth rounds instead of that. And just say, hey, give me 1, 2.
It'd be probably a win for both teams if the Patriots took a second round from them one time, and it's probably a win for the Rams because I don't think the Rams can pick anybody that good in the second round. So I think it'd probably be a win for both of them. Because here's the thing, I'm not going to say the Patriots don't need him, but it's hard to keep 2 good guys on your roster. One of them, the one that's not playing, is wanting to play, and he's going to play.
When it comes to football, outside of the first round, when it comes to drafting, say, a quarterback, a lot of it's a luck of the draw.
It is.
Because you could go a 1-1 pick. Look at Johnny Manziel.
Mm-hmm.
Look how good he turned out. He didn't turn out. There's other guys that didn't turn out.
Johnny Manziel could have probably turned out though if he hadn't have been.
Well, he was a big partier.
Yeah, he was gifted. He just didn't use the gift.
He is the biggest waste of talent there ever.
But when the Patriots were parting ways with Belichick, there was some talk going around basically what's he done for us lately. That his drafts had not worked out for a number of years, but they were drafting so would be high or low? How would that be considered? Saying that away,
low
for 20 years. And those picks, are gambles down there.
Oh, absolutely.
And they just wasn't working for it.
Right.
But they're.
Well, see, and here's my thing is, look at what's the boy what's the guy in San Diego or San Francisco, Mr. Irrelevant. That was the last pick. Brock Purdy. How many times does that happen?
Exactly.
So I mean,
Tom Brady.
When you draft that low, like I said, it's the luck of the draw. It's like put a bunch of names in the hat and pull it out and say, okay, we're gonna put you 3rd string. So if A, B, and maybe C, if we get hurt, we don't have any kickers left or anybody who can go in and kick us down the field, we're gonna throw you in there.
Right. Well, I think this Milton. I think that if he works out, I think it'll be a good thing for the Rams. And I think the Rams really wanted to keep Stafford, but that's just I don't know how they got themselves in that situation for that much money. Mm-hmm. But apparently, what they're going to owe him, I don't know if there's a roster bonus or something there involved too, but it's going to be around $50 million. That's a big hit on the salary cap.
Kroenke's probably getting to where he's probably getting broke, though. Of course, I mean, he's bringing it all back in, but
he's not broke.
He just paid St. Louis a couple of years ago $790 million.
Was it that much?
Yeah, he paid off the stadium.
I didn't think they owed but $100 and some million on it. I don't think it was that much.
No, he paid it all.
I know, but I don't think was it that much.
He paid it all.
Well,
he paid the city all back.
It's not so much about him having the money as much as it is going to take a huge hit on the
salary cap.
On the cap, $50 million. Whew, that's a big one on one player. So I think they'll probably try to do business with somebody else on him. But he's a fine quarterback and somebody that needs a quarterback. And I think he'll have to take less money.
Right.
That's a lot of money. So he'll get a longer term deal though somewhere, So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out though.
That's kind of why I could see him going to the Northeast. I mean, of course, that Jets team is kind of troubled. But
I just don't see Stafford getting himself in that situation. Like I said, I would see him retiring before he. I mean, maybe not, but that's tough.
But here's the thing, though. He played like 12 years in Detroit. Who wins in Detroit?
That's true, but
he played 12 years in Detroit.
I would much rather see him go to the Giants. A lot better.
Well, and that one is another potential because they're not very far from. And of course, with this being a weak draft class, that is a possibility.
I think they'll win. I think the Giants will come out, and I think they'll be a wild card team.
I don't know who they.
I guarantee you they're closer to the playoffs than the Jets are.
I think so. Like we said last week, Daniel Jones played 10 games, Drew Lock played 5, and Tommy DeVito played 2. But they traded Jones, and I don't know about the other 2 guys. So do they go out and get somebody else?
I also heard something else that I didn't want to talk about this a lot because I don't know how accurate my source is. But it sounds like that Tui's that's going to retire.
Tua Tagovailoa.
That's what it sounded. But I probably shouldn't even bring this up. But it's something I think we need to make sure we talk about this next week. We'll try to do a little bit more research on it. But
so he said back in the season that his doctors had said that and advised him that it would probably be best to retire, but he said he wasn't going to retire.
Yeah, but I think he is right. I've always heard that.
What has he had now? 4 concussions?
Yeah, I've always heard after the first one, it's easier to get one. And it's becoming an issue now.
I think he's had one like every year since he's been in the league.
Every year he's played. So, I don't know. I think I like him a lot. I feel bad for him.
Oh, I like him.
And I feel really bad for the kid because he's a good quarterback.
Oh, absolutely.
But, he's took too many licks. And so if he plays this year, I think this will be it. I don't think he'll play this year. But again, before we go into that too far, let's talk about that next week and see if we can have some more information on it.
That could just be speculation.
Yes, and I don't want to get that rumor going around too big.
Speaking of taking licks, would you take a jackhammer from Goldberg?
No.
Well, he says he feels like $1 million. Did you read that article I sent you earlier in the week?
I read part of it. I didn't get it all read.
Well, it sounds like his last match is going to happen this summer.
Who do you think it's going to be?
That I don't know. And that guy you were talking about was Nick Nemeth, or a.k.a. when he was in WWE, Dolph Ziggler.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could just float right back over if he wanted to, because since the WWE and TNA have that.
Yeah. But he
thing.
He beat Ziggler. Then Ziggler, he was leaving. Ziggler got back up off the ring floor and wanted it again. Goldberg come out and speared him again and pinned him. I think that went on 2 or 3 times. You should go back and watch the match.
Right. So I don't know, but I'm really curious to see who his final match will be. He claims it'll be sometime this summer. So
I just hope they don't put him up against Gunther.
I mean, they kind of teased that back in October, but I don't think that'd be a very good match.
No, I think it'd be a bad match. I think it'd be a really bad idea.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about something with Gunther. I'd just like to know what everybody else thinks. If Gunther has a weakness, would you say it's the microphone?
At times.
Just imagine who you could put with him to make him bigger than he is now. Think about it.
You know, I know what you're thinking, but
You could make him.
I don't think he needs that.
Well, I do. I think he does. I think he does need. If he could have just, if he could have a round with Paul Heyman as his manager, Heyman. I mean, Gunther's over. There's no question. He's over now.
He's over now, 100%.
But look. I mean, Roman was over, but look what Heyman did for Roman. I mean, he's superstar Roman now.
Right. I think, of course, Heyman has done, a lot for the business and, done nothing but great things for the business. Right. But I tell you what, he done the best for was probably Brock, because Brock sucked on the mic.
Yes, he did. But he's done awful good, too, with the bloodline. That's been a big...
The tribal chief.
My name is Paul Heyman. So, yeah, I think that, and right now I don't think that would be... Well, Paul would have to be, there'd have to be a separation from Paul and the bloodline. And I don't know if they're ready to do that or not yet.
No,
You certainly wouldn't want to bring Gunther into the bloodline. That's not what he needs at all.
I think Gunther is pretty good by himself right now. I mean, he is the ultimate heel. He's done great things. Like I said last week, we were all having fun, yeeting and everything, and then all of a sudden he comes out there and starts beating the crap out of
right.
Usos.
I'd love to see Cornette come in and manage him.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That would be.
I love Cornette.
Cornette could really take him a. Come on, Jim. You'd only have to work one day a week.
Right.
One day a week's all you got to work.
Yeah.
And Jim Cornette could make him. Well, like I said, Gunther's over. But can you imagine where he would go with Cornette managing him?
There we go. Right here. We're gonna call it Jim Cornette.
Let's call out Jim Cornette. I think that would be. At this point in Jim's career, I know he always talks about on his podcast he doesn't like traveling and all that, and I get all that, but still, can you imagine Cornette coming? The only thing he's going to have to work is Monday nights and pay-per-views. And can you imagine what he could do with Gunther? And Gunther's doing good on his own, but just imagine what Cornette, he could make Gunther as big as anybody's ever been, and with the exception of maybe Stone Cold. Anybody that, besides the Attitude Era, as big as anybody ever was. I think he could propel him just as big as Hogan was.
Oh, I bet for sure.
But
he could really do some big things with.
Because I think as much as I'd like to see Paul Heyman manage, I don't think Heyman's ready. I don't think you need to pull him away from the bloodline just yet. No. So I think if you brought a Cornette in there, as much as Cornette don't like to be away from home and everything, I think Cornette would have fun with it.
Now I have an interesting idea. Of course, I don't know how he is on the mic, and this is just a thought, so I might sound like a complete idiot. But what about Pritchard?
Pritchard would be good on the mic, but I don't.
I mean, he already kind of works there.
Yeah, but I think he's too much behind the scenes. I don't think.
You think he's too much behind the scenes?
Yeah, he always wanted to do stuff like that, but I just think he's too much behind the scenes to be involved in that. But he's very capable. He's good on the mic when he's Brother Love.
Right.
And but I think he's too busy back there. I mean, he's one of the top guys.
Right.
And to turn him into a talent, it's going to be pretty hard for what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's very capable of doing it. But I wish, this would be great to see Cornette. Even if he just come out for 6 months and was, his manager for 6 months, you'd see a big deal.
He doesn't wear socks.
Who?
Gunther.
Why?
I don't know. You go back and look at some of his appearances in the ring, especially when he's wearing a suit. He's not wearing socks.
That would bother me. How tall is Gunther? About 6'4"?
I don't know. He's tall.
He's tall.
But I figured that'd bother you because you're like a sock fanatic.
I can't imagine not wearing socks and shoes. Because he wears nice clothes sometimes, doesn't he?
Yes.
So you got on nice shoes without socks? That's, nah.
I was literally sitting at work one day, and the guy I work with, we talk wrestling sometimes when we have some downtime. He just looked at me. He goes, I just got a text. He goes, do you know that Gunther doesn't wear socks? I was like, what? I'm like, that's kind of an odd thing to find out at work, but it was kind of funny. I mean,
I wouldn't like it. That just something about that, and it seems nasty. Not only does it sound uncomfortable, but it seems nasty. Can you imagine have to borrow his shoes sometime? He's had them old sweaty bare feet in them.
Shoot, you'd have to have your. It wouldn't be much of a shoe. It'd be like a boat.
Yeah, no kidding.
So one last thing, and then we're gonna go ahead and just wrap this thing up. But The Rock appeared on SmackDown last night.
I heard about that. I didn't get to see it, but I heard about it. How'd that go over?
So he told Cody that he was coming for where he wanted his soul. I don't really know what he meant by that. I mean,
playing a good heel.
Yeah, it was a good heel, but I did hear him say that he has a good. He said he had a good relationship with Cody and a good storyline to where it was more like that he could play this role without even having to step in a ring and wrestle.
I don't think he can. I think it was a very bad idea to even begin to think about letting The Rock beat Cody in the ring. I think that'd be a bad idea. How old's The Rock? 50?
Yeah, he's getting up there.
I think that would be I'm not saying he don't have some good matches left in, but
everybody wants to see The Rock and Roman again. Or I don't know if we've actually ever seen a one-on-one.
Yeah, and I would like to see that. And right now is a good time without a title.
A lot of people are thinking that could be the Mania match.
It'd be a good one, and and people has wanted that match for a very long time. But I think it would be a good one, and I think that Roman's got to go over.
Well, and Roman's, he's gone. He's gone for a little while. I don't know where he's been.
Will he even be around for Mania?
I think he'll be back for Mania.
Well, that would be a good.
But he won't be there next week for the Elimination Chamber.
At this point, we're getting close to Mania. You can't just schedule him to wrestle. You're going to have a story. If you don't have a story, it don't mean nothing. Wrestling without a story don't mean anything.
But here's the thing, though. One thing I do like about wrestling, and The Rock is on the board, and The Rock can do whatever he wants.
That's true.
And if he wants to go in there and raise a bunch of hell and be like, look, I want to fight you, guess what? He's going to fight him.
That's true. But they still need to have a good dramatic story to build up.
And I think
wrestling without a story, a match without a story don't mean much. They really don't.
Right. I mean, they've always figured out, and
they got enough time to put together a story.
Absolutely. Well, with wrestling, 2 weeks you can have a good storyline.
Yeah.
I mean,
look how long the Bloodlines had this story going on.
Oh my gosh! Don't even start me on that. I'm tired of the Bloodline.
But it's been a good thing. It's been one of the best things that they've had for a long time.
I'm ready for it to be over with.
You ready for it to be over?
Of course, I think they've kind of distanced themselves since they've kind of separated.
Yeah.
Solo Sikoa and Roman.
But it really brought things together for the WWE to have that Bloodline thing. It's been big.
So one last thing before we just completely get off here, I wanted to mention to you. You saw me watching it the other night. Was the Four Nations face-off?
That's last night, wasn't it? No, it was not before last.
Not before last.
Not before last, yes. And that was a very competitive game, the U.S. and Canada wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that was tied for...
Well, the first...
Most of the game was a tie, wasn't it?
All three periods was pretty much a tie.
Until somebody
overtime.
scored, the other team came right back. Right. It was 2-2 for a long time.
For pretty much all three periods, and then that Canada ended up winning in overtime. But let me put this in perspective for you. Think of the two best football teams that you could think possibly that is not a Super Bowl. Actually, the best teams in the league. And you put them on the court or in the field and expect them to play a competitive football game.
Mm-hmm.
That is basically what the Four Nations face-off was. It was they had inauguralized this to go in place for their every year All-Star.
This game the other night reminded me of a Patriot and Indianapolis game when they was in their prime. Two teams that are just battling it out that are just about equal.
Right. It was really good.
But Canada won that in overtime, right?
Canada ended up winning in overtime, but it was good. I was really getting WBC vibes, and then later that night, the WBC qualifiers ended up starting off, so I'm really excited. It's a really fun time to be a sports fan. You've got a lot of baseball happening here, and at the end of March, we'll have football back in the form of the UFL.
I'm looking
will be
forward
back.
to that. I'm looking forward to that, and that's something we got to... Do you have the schedule out on that?
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
As soon as we get a
I've got it.
website going, we'll have stuff like it on our website.
Oh, for sure. You can follow me on Twitter. I'll be on Twitter, Reid Jaco, or TikTok, Reid Jaco as well, or Instagram at Reid Jaco. And we're also on Instagram, our page at Backyard Sports Talk. So we are going to have a final send-off. We appreciate you joining in here this week, and have a good week. We hope you all enjoyed this episode, and we hope to see you all next week. I'm signing out. Have a good week.
Good night, or goodbye, and we'll catch you next week. More good things to come. See you guys.